Hello and welcome back to the Spotlight Games podcast. Today we finally have our Baldur's Gate 3 impressions. We'll be reviewing Resident Evil 4's DLC Separate Ways and discussing the full remake coming to the Apple iPhone, courtesy of Steve Jobs, and what we'd like to see from the recently announced The Division 3. I'm your host, Patrick. Joining me is, as always, my sweet, call him sweet, sweets in the chat, Dumpster Boy. How you doing, Cayman?
Man, I'm the Dumpster Boy. Patrick, can I tell you a story?
Please.
We do this every episode now. Let me tell you a story, Patrick.
Please.
Something I learned earlier today. Did you know that if you go to Scotland and the Scottish Highlands, they now have someone has fully recreated shot for shot Shrek Swamp Home, and you can rent it on Airbnb?
Let's fucking go. It's about time, honestly. Here's my question. How much does it cost?
That's a great question.
And when are we going?
So I don't know either of those. And in my current condition, I don't know if I'm allowed to fly in a plane. But I have a proposition and a question for you.
Yes.
What do you think it feels like to have sex inside of Shrek's house?
I bet it feels like nothing you've ever experienced. Here, let's do a quick little screen share. I pulled up this article from one IGN. You ever heard of it?
I have heard of it.
Look at these inside photos. I mean, it feels like we're just going through a portal to our favorite swamp.
Here's the thing. Did they Photoshop donkey in?
They sure did.
Okay. So it doesn't come with like a life-size donkey sitting in the chair. How much money do you think someone spent to do this? And was it a joke or like what is the?
It seems pretty in depth, and I'm not seeing any actual prices on this IGN article, but I feel like that had to be a cool $250K at least.
Oh, that has to be
at least, and I'm probably underselling it by a lot. Shit's expensive out here.
I just like, can you imagine like the weirdo couple that's like, where are we gonna go for our honeymoon? And they're like, we're gonna go stay in Shrek's swamp.
Yeah. I can't imagine that.
Hear me out. I know this isn't a Disney property, this is DreamWorks, but like Disney people are they would do something like that. Yeah. I've never heard of DreamWorks people though. Like, is there people out there like Disney people who are just like DreamWorks people, and they're like the off-brand of Disney people? I feel like those people are more unhinged than Disney people because they can't go to Disney World.
I mean, they just have to the Dreamers.
Oh my God! Did you uncover something, Patrick?
I maybe did. Fucking, they'll tell us how to train our goddamn dragon.
Oh man, those Dreamers.
You better watch out.
It reminds me of the Eva Longoria film. Eva Green. Green film. The Dreamers.
With Michael Pitt? Is he in there?
Yeah, with Michael Pitt, and they go to the Cinematheque all the time. Yep. Also, a lot of nudity.
I was about to say, we see both of them naked in that film, don't we?
We see all of them naked in that movie quite a bit, and I'm pretty sure it's inappropriate. So for all of our baby boy listeners and baby girl, no, that's weird. All of our if you're listening to us at all, you really shouldn't be under probably the age of 18.
Oh boy, I mean, you don't tell me what to do.
Well, we're in our 30s, man.
God damn it, we are, aren't we? Cognitive Clips in the chat, sneaking in a quick comment from a work conference. Have a great show. Hey, thanks. Have a great work conference, bud. Cayman, we got a lot of video game stuff to talk about because this is the Spotlight Games podcast where each week we spotlight the latest and the greatest in the world of video games. You can get it by subscribing to our YouTube channel at Spotlight Games Pod or by searching for Spotlight Games in your favorite podcast app. And hey, you can be on the show by tuning in as we record live Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/Spotlight Games Pod. So be sure to follow us there so that you're notified when we go live, so you can be part of the conversation. Cayman, this is our last episode of September, which means next week we are starting our journey to reveal the top 100 video games of all time. So you have until Saturday as of release of this episode to send your list in. If you haven't already, go to the description of the podcast and the YouTube video. Click the form link. Help us hashtag build the list so we can reveal the top 100 games of all time. But Cayman, I gotta admit something on air right now. I forgot the second week of October I'm out of town. So either we're going to take a quick week off in the middle of the top 100, or we might try to sneak in a not live episode that we just post on the day of when we're supposed to. So we'll figure that out in the background, but we might be
funny as hell.
We might be making our 5-week event a 6-week event with one.
Where are you going? Do you mind spilling the beans on that?
I don't mind spilling the beans. If any of our listeners live in Los Angeles and want to see me and a certain band playing in Los Angeles, Rose and I are going to see at the Hollywood Bowl.
Oh, Cayman. Wow, you're fancy now.
At the Hollywood Bowl, I said, Rose, I would love to see a show at the Hollywood Bowl. And she said, you know who's playing at the Hollywood Bowl? I've been like drawing this out as long as possible because my brain is just completely lost.
You forgot who you're seeing. You're going to LA to see a band and you've already
I know who they are, but the name is just in a piece of my brain I can't access right now. They sang The District Sleeps Alone Tonight. Who are they called?
I have no clue, but I'm going to go on a limb and I'm going to say Japanese Breakfast.
No, but man, wouldn't that be something?
That would be pretty fucking.
Wouldn't that be? Liz, if you're still in the chat, help me out here. Maybe you know. What are they fucking called? Let me open up my Ticketmaster right now.
You open up that Ticketmaster.
I think Death Cab for Cutie is also playing, perhaps.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think it's a
Gibbard.
it's a twofer. I think it's the Postal Service. That's what they're called.
That sounds like it's good. Well, if Death Cab's playing with them, that sounds like a combo that you would want to see together.
Yeah, it sounds like it'll be a fun show.
That's exciting, man.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a split trip. We're going to LA to see that, and we're going to LA to see all the different Vanderpump Rules restaurants. Cayman. We're having a night at Sir. We're having a night at Tom Tom. We're doing it all.
You are. You say that. I forgot who I was talking to the other day, and I was like, I have this like dream of mine is to go to all 50 states in the country.
Yeah.
But that's boring just to go to 50. Just be like, oh, I went to see all 50 states. Loser. Okay. If you're going to do it, you've got to have a mission statement, Patrick. Yeah. My mission statement is to go to every single state and have a beer from a local brewery.
Yep.
And try their regional hot dog.
Ooh. Does every state have their own officially licensed regional hot dog?
You know what? I don't know, but I've had hot dogs in Georgia that were different than hot dogs in New Orleans. So
you got to go to Ohio. They're known for their hot dogs.
I swear to God, here's the thing, Patrick. I know we'll get to video games in a second, Patrick, but for all of our Ohio listeners, you're all committing grievous amounts of sins by eating Skyline chili.
Yeah.
That is a concoction made from a madman and not in a good way. Who puts chocolate and cinnamon in their chili?
It's not good.
You're a lunatic. It's grease that runs from your snout to your anus and just,
it's not good.
It's like a slip and slide down there.
Look, as someone who was born in Ohio, it's pretty embarrassing.
It's bad.
Pretty embarrassing. Cayman, what do you say we start the show to talk about what we've been playing? Cayman, we've already said we're going to be talking about Baldur's Gate 3, but before we do that, I have 2 games to report on. Cayman, if you would allow it.
I will.
Thank you. So I finished The Expanse, Telltale's The Expanse.
Yes, please.
All 5 episodes. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this because I've already kind of dabbled in sharing my thoughts on that game, other than to say they stuck the landing. Ultimately, nice. if you like Telltale games, if you like The Expanse, if you like a narrative driven, choose your dialogue adventure, try The Expanse. It's not a full $60. I think it was only $39.99 if I remember correctly. Each episode's like an hour and a half. It's a quick little jaunt through space. And I had a good time. Is it going to be in my top 10? No. But it was good. ultimately, now I'm even more excited for The Wolf Among Us 2 coming from Telltale next year, because that's, I think, my favorite of the Telltale series. And I had some criticisms about the new engine, just that like it wasn't as big of a jump as I hoped. But by the end of episode 5, I was like, you know what? It is very noticeable, this new engine, in a lot of ways. So I'm excited to see them play around in it a little more, and kind of be able to take it to even more heights with something like The Wolf Among Us. Nick in the chat, Sweetski 101. Wait, you were born in Ohio? Go Blue. No, that was what was so weird about me being a Michigan fan in my youth, is that I was born in Ohio and I hated Ohio State.
Born in Georgia, hate the University of Georgia.
See, that's one other reason why we're just meant to be together.
Mm-hmm. We hate our regional colleges.
They want us to zig, and we fucking zag, baby.
It's funny though, because I'm technically born closer to Georgia Tech than the University of Georgia.
Okay.
But let's be honest, the only people who actually like Georgia Tech are the people who went there.
Sure. Fucking nerds.
And those nerds can just get lost. I don't know.
Fucking nerds.
Fucking nerds, man.
I once worked a hockey tournament for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets hockey team. That's all there is to say about that. Cole House Jr. in the chat. Hey, Terry. How you doing? Cayman, I've also been playing and finished Resident Evil 4 Separate Ways DLC.
Yeah.
$9.99 out now. If you have the game. If you don't have the game, it'd be full price of the game plus $10. And if you haven't played the original Resident Evil 4, it was an expansion that was released way back, where you play as the character Ada Wong from the game. And it's something I love about Resident Evil that I wish other franchises did. This storytelling mechanism of, here's a story and then here's another way to experience that story from a different perspective. And it intertwines every now and then, and you'll get to a point, it's like, oh, I remember doing that as a Leon in the base game. And I just love that shit. Resident Evil 2 did it even more, where from the launch, it was, here's Leon's story, here's Claire's story, and they're going to intertwine a fuck ton throughout. And I just love that shit. I'm a sucker for that shit. If you remember Spotlight TV, may it rest in peace, we talked about that about the Last of Us show. I love when we get a different perspective of a story, and it kind of shows us the perspective we've already seen. Separate Ways fucking rips, dude. It, just like Resident Evil 4 remake, it is an incredible elevation and remake of the source material with enough new shit in it to make it feel fresh, and it fucking feels like Resident Evil 4 remake. Honestly, there's not a ton to say here, other than it's 6 to 7 hours, maybe more if you take your time. And it's fucking Resident Evil 4. It's great. But as someone who did play Separate Ways, and I know you have too, it was really cool. I don't remember a ton of it. I just remember the basics, that you're Ada. It feels different because Ada feels different. And that's kind of all I remember. And there's the intertwining shit that I remember as a concept, but I don't remember specific beats. But I was it starts out in a way, I'm this definitely wasn't a thing. This is totally new. There's a whole new spin that they add to it, which was really cool. And there are other boss fights and other encounters that I feel are completely different than the original. I wanted to, before we recorded, check out a comparison video to see how much it really was like the original, because I feel it is more not like the original Separate Ways than is, which is cool.
I know that she has a grappling hook that you actually get to use in this version. I saw some video clips of that looked really cool.
What a cool elevation of the combat to have this grappling hook that, with the zombies that have shields, being able to pull their shields with the grappling hook. Or if you're far away from one of the zombies in combat, you can grapple to them and kick them down, after you've kind of made them stumble a little bit. Just really great. For only $10, there's no reason not to play it if you have Resident Evil 4 and liked it.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, Patrick?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to get to it eventually, but with so many things going on right now, especially trying to get through Baldur's Gate.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about something else too. And we have fucking Spider-Man in less than a month. So it's okay, where am I at right now? What am I doing? And my question to you, Patrick, about Separate Ways, the way do you have any other educated opinions on what comes next? Do you think, based on anything they added in two separate ways, that we are like that they might have hinted at a little bit of like the next remake? Because I feel like we know we're going to get a Resident Evil 9.
Sure.
But
Yeah,
the
definitely.
remake is kind of a big hands in the air. Do you think that did they give us any new clues or anything you want to share?
Without spoiling anything, I can't help but wonder if we're skipping Resident Evil 5 and going right to 6.
Really?
But we're absolutely getting another remake. Like, they definitely set up Resident Evil 5 essentially. But I wonder, because Resident Evil 5 just isn't the most loved. I mean, Resident Evil 6, one of the universally most hated of them.
Yeah.
But I think there is potential to really improve that game a fuck ton with a remake. But yeah, no, I would assume that we get Resident Evil 5 next, and then we get 6, and then from that point, I don't know what we get.
And we've been very clear, like, that both of us have a real fondness for Resident Evil 5. I mean, when we were in high school, we played that together a shit ton. Yeah, so like I would love to see them, because Resident Evil 5 obviously very, very, very action forward.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think Resident Evil 4, while there was some pretty scary moments in the game, it really wasn't like Resident Evil 2.
Yeah.
Or wasn't like, it was more action, less horror. But I think the way they did Resident Evil 4 being way more horror, and it worked really well. I think that, like, I would love to see them give a shot. My thing, just kind of walking away from that, being like, are we gonna get, like, is Resident Evil 5 gonna be the Shiva Chris Redfield? Are we still gonna get like co-op? That'd be fucking dope. But like,
I would expect to, because I think something that Separate Ways does that I think the original did, there's a ton of Albert Wesker in Separate Ways.
Yeah.
And so it really feels like they are setting up 5 with this DLC. Or I also wonder, if they're doing Resident Evil 5 remake, how much of the source material do they change? Like,
true.
Is it even still set in Africa? I would assume it is. Like, I think that would be a pretty big departure to completely change, like, the setting of the game. But I wonder if how much they go into the remake, because comparing 2 to 4, there's a lot more remakes. I mean, there's a lot more new in 4 than there was in 2. And so maybe that each iteration, it's like even more of a departure from the source material, so that they can, in their own way, kind of put their stamp on the legacy of Resident Evil, maybe, because so far they're fucking nailing it.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
With the 2 games.
Yeah. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. Man, because I really want Resident Evil 5, but also I feel like you could change so much in Resident Evil 6 and no one would know. You could just make a brand new Resident Evil 6. There's one moment in Resident Evil 6, though, early on in Leon's campaign, because you have 3 campaigns going at once. There's an early moment. It was genuinely scary. It's like one of the first things, if you pick Leon right off the bat in his, like, story arc, it was like pretty scary. You're like this college campus that's like this old Victorian college campus, and it's spooky as hell. Then the whole game goes off rails, and it's like, no, this is an action game. And you're like, don't like this. But I think that's exciting. Patrick, can I tell you something that I didn't prime you for this.
Oh, come on.
I watched, so I'm not a big fighter fan. Like, I used to play all of the Mortal Kombats. Those are my jam, right? Hit a certain age where I think online play became like way more prevalent in fighting games, where it wasn't just like it's me and my friends on the weekend. I got my buddies over and we're playing fucking, PlayStation 2 Mortal Kombat or the Deception or whatever, right? So either way, Sid and I sat down. We actually watched YouTuber Hollow play through the entirety of the story campaign for Mortal Kombat 1. And we've talked about this before. We talked about the fact that, like,
was he playing it on Switch?
I wish. That would have been funny as hell. Don't buy the Switch port of this game, even though Ed Boon did say that he was ashamed of it.
Yeah, there's no way it's
we will be. It's like, we will be fixing. Don't worry. No, I don't believe that. So we watched the whole playthrough of the story campaign. And we talked before about how it felt like an uncanny valley watching, like, the first trailers and stuff. And I think seeing it actually go live, like, and watching through it, it doesn't feel nearly as much like it's uncanny valley. but like, holy hell, the graphics in this game are wild.
I mean, it looks the most recent trailers, like once it's been released, it looks fucking good.
What's crazy about that is that's just on Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
So if they're you could tell they're maxing out the ability for Unreal Engine 4.
Yeah.
Absolutely buck wild, dude. That this looks the way it does. And I'm like, geez, like I'm genuinely like, holy crap, this is actually really cool. Like I would play, like if this game was like cheap, I'd play it just to do the story mode.
Oh, for sure.
Because I think it's really cool. I think from what I saw, one complaint I would probably have, this is just probably me complaint, is like it seems like the roster this time around feels really slim.
Interesting.
Of like who you can have, and there's some weird stuff in there that I was like, why is this character not playable? But
can we get Bo Raicho? Is he in there?
No, he's not. But
I
think his wife is Madam Cho or Madam Bo. I think it was Madam Bo is her name. I don't know if it's his wife or whatever. But yeah. So either way, if you're a fighting fan, it looks really cool. I obviously can't speak to the actual gameplay. But the story mode looks really, really cool. And I kind of wish that they would like release, I've said this before, like Call of Duty 2, like just release the story campaign, because I'm not going to play anything else. And
I'll give you $30 right now to just play through the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Mortal Kombat, same way, but like, looks great. The reviews have been really positive. So that's there. I do want to mention one more thing before we move on to something else. But today, if I'm not mistaken, it is today. What is the day? What day?
26th.
Okay, 26th today. Phantom Liberty for Cyberpunk and Cyberpunk 2.0 dropped. So I've been actually watching some of that and like kind of keeping up, because I personally enjoyed Cyberpunk. And apparently version 2.0 has completely rehauled this game from the ground up. From what I read, the DLC for Phantom Liberty, I think it's either $29.99.
That sounds right.
I think it's $30. Apparently just the DLC alone is 15 to 20 hours just for that one campaign.
Yeah.
It also brings in a whole slew of side content and all that stuff. So apparently to beat all of the new content added through Phantom Liberty is about 50 hours.
Wow.
So in the first game is probably about 50 hours to beat the main campaign. So you're looking at 100 hours now content-wise in Cyberpunk. 2.0 has upgraded everything from the visuals to the AI to the actual gameplay mechanics.
The one that's most exciting for me is the skill tree.
Yeah, the skill tree.
I fucking hated the skill tree in the original.
So, and apparently there's new dialogue choices. There are a shit ton more endings now. Cool. So what I've been reading, if you are anyone who's already played Cyberpunk like myself, there's two things you can do. You can either reload your old save and then just start up at Phantom Liberty and forsake everything else. And you can just jump directly in. Or you can start up the game from scratch again. And then it's about, I think they said it was about halfway or a quarter way into the game, Phantom Liberty story unlocks. And then you can play through that alongside everything else. I think this is really cool. I love a success story. This feels like a No Man's Sky situation where it went from being an absolute train wreck to being like a game people are considering now to be like masterpiece worthy praise, which isn't like, you don't see like a rebound like that.
Yeah.
So that's one that for me, I'm like, I don't know, buddy. Can I squeeze in Baldur's Gate and Phantom Liberty before Spider-Man drops?
I will say, because probably a year ago at this point, I was on this podcast saying I find like once the 1.5 update came out, so maybe not a year ago, I was like, okay, I'm finally going to go in, and it just didn't click for me.
Sure.
What I'm seeing about Phantom Liberty makes me want to give it one more shot.
Yeah.
So I do think I'll probably wait until after the October of it all, but yeah. Also, friend of the show, Chunk, let the Mongu in the chat. There's hope. Cayman likes the game. I like. There it is. And then let's wrap up this section with McLean with it 2014. Can we just talk about how baby girl Leon is? I mean, that hair. I tell you what,
he's such a handsome boy.
Such a handsome little boy. I want a little more Leon in my life, if you know what I'm saying. Cayman, audience at large, we've finally done it. I've put in about 4.5 hours. How many of you played, Cayman?
I'm probably at about the 15 mark.
Okay.
At this point.
So between us, just south of 20 hours roughly of Baldur's Gate 3. we're just dipping our toes in, folks. Our toesies are just being dipped in this water of this fucking ocean of a video game. But we have impressions. We've been playing. We have our thoughts. Cayman, you have played a lot more than me. So I'd like to start with you. You started a few days before I did because I was doing Resident Evil Separate Ways and finishing up the Expanse. And I finished Starfield, by the way, which I didn't mention. And I started doing New Game Plus. But if me and our boy Mondo do a little spoiler cast, I'll save all those thoughts for that. But talk me through what you're feeling, what you're thinking about Baldur's Gate 3. And Nick in the chat, are we playing on PC or PS5? We are playing on PS5. Good sir.
Yes. Yeah. So let me just go ahead and answer the question I think everyone has. Does the port work? Because a lot of PC ports don't really translate well to console. I can definitively say yes. I feel like this is a really solid port, and I feel like the controls with the controller, whatever they did, it feels great. It feels awesome. The DualSense feels great with this game. And so, yes, I think that this is a solid port from PC to PlayStation. I think they did a great job. With that being said, overall, just 15 hours in thoughts. And this is funny that I say this because I actually looked this up and I'm not the only one. I'm like, is this game either one, really fucking hard, or am I just a goddamn idiot? And you know what the answer is? I'm just a goddamn idiot. I literally read an article that said, is this game hard or are you stupid? And I want to say it was from maybe Game Rant. And it basically addressed my exact same thought process. Was like, this game is so cool. And they do things in this game I've never seen done before. And it genuinely feels like I'm playing a dungeon. I'm playing fucking D&D on my PlayStation.
For sure.
It gives you that level of freedom and that the ability to make changes and do things that are cool. Getting items, like magically infused items that specifically work, and you have to be very strategic about who's going to get these items, because certain items will work better for others, and you can kind of build your companions around that. My problem is I'm really dumb. And I think on one hand, yes, I will take full responsibility for being stupid. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it kind of hurting a little bit of my enjoyment, mainly just because there's a lot of times where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Sure.
Because the game gives you so much freedom. And it's
pump the brakes for just a second. Let's talk through what kind of what character did you roll?
Sure.
Who are you?
Sure.
Give us a background on the Dumpster Boys Baldur's Gate 3 character.
Yeah, so I decided to try to go as neutral as possible.
Okay.
I was like, look, I'm going to go very neutral on this run. And I went with a human fighter. And I have gotten to a point where I've unlocked like my specialty class, and you are given a list of things you can choose from to like customize your character even more. And so my customization was to go, I think it's called Battle Master.
Yep, Battle Master.
So my character is basically a jack of all traits when it comes specifically to being able to use weapons.
Okay.
And so I've kind of built myself into this trying to be very tanky and trying to be like high damage tanky, but I can't really do much in terms of elemental, which is fine because you can customize your party to fill those gaps. Right. And that's, I think what I like about this game is you can do that.
What's your name?
My name is, I don't know. I use Chat GPT to give me a really cool fantasy name. And I think it's something like, it's just like Vlarg.
Get good.
Or something like that. Yeah, it's dope. Right. So it's cool. And so my character is, he does everything I need him to do.
Yeah.
And I like the way that works, and I like the way it functions. And early on, obviously, when you do skill checks, because 90% of this game is skill checks.
Right.
The one downside is like I haven't got to a point where like my luck has increased enough for me to be able to like roll higher. But through the use of magical items and stuff like that, I'm able to have other characters have better success in different fields. So the game is like there's a ton of freedom here for you in how you want to play this game and how you want to do this and choices and all this, and everything matters and nothing matters. And I love that about it because I don't know if I'm going to cause some cataclysmic event in this game. I'm just figuring shit out as I go.
For sure. Can I ask you a question based on a comment in the chat?
Sure.
Terry says, I feel like I'm a dummy as I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3. I honestly don't know a ton about D&D, so I'm having a hard time with learning the basics. How familiar are you with, I know you've talked about playing some D&D in your past, but like, do you feel like you're coming in here with just like the most basic of knowledge about D&D, or do you know a little more than that and you feel like that's helping you in your journey with this game?
Yeah, so I think on two hands, one, I'm coming into it with more knowledge. I haven't played D&D in probably a couple of years, but used to play it a bunch.
Okay,
So I
you used to
know
play a
about
bunch. Okay.
I know about character sheets and all of these different aspects that really play into your characters and the story and things like that. But what I will say is by the 15-hour mark, I don't think you need to know what I knew going in, because by that point, you've kind of gotten used to what the mechanics are.
Okay.
The issue is the game is not easy, and I'm playing on easy mode, and even that's not easy. And it's like, it's kind of like that Elden Ring kind of thing where it's like, should I be here or should I not be here? And
which brings in Liz in the chat. She says her favorite thing is that there isn't a right or wrong way to play, which kind of feels like your experience so far, like of should I be here or should I not?
Yeah, but I think that's the big thing for me is like in Elden Ring, you kind of know if you belong in an area. And I feel like Baldur's Gate does a good job of never making you feel like you don't belong, but they nudge you in a direction of being like, hey, you might want to get some better equipment, or you might want to go do something else for a minute before you come back here. But if you want to give it a go, because a lot of this is luck based, and if you have the right builds and party members set up, like you can probably just power through some of this shit.
Yeah.
And I like that. I think that's a really cool mechanic. And I think the story so far has, I think, been the biggest surprise for me.
Yeah.
Is like, I don't know what it is about the story, but I'm like, I'm actually interested in seeing where this goes. And with that being said, I'm torn. I think I see this is like Elden Ring for me, where I see this as it is, as like, this could be a masterpiece. This could be one of the greatest RPGs ever made. But then the question is like, but is it the best RPG for me?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I'm coming in being like, the difficulty curve early on is really tough. And I think a lot of people who play this game might be turned off really early on by the difficulty curve, both with just learning what this game is and how it functions. The actual gameplay can be a bit tricky at times, trying to figure out what is the right move. And there's times where like you're going to go up against what feels like a boss encounter and you just walk right through, but then you just run into a handful of goblins that throw grease on the ground. And it's like, how the fuck do I get through this now? Just one jar of grease and my whole run's over now. So I think it's tough. I'm excited to see where this ends up on my end of year list.
Sure.
Because right now, I mean, like I think we've covered, there's been a shit ton of really good games.
Yeah, for sure.
And a lot of really good games to come. And so I think this is really going to come down to is like, is this game going to click with me by hour 20? And that's probably going to be that moment. But I am curious, you're not in as far, but I know that you've had some pretty strong feelings on this.
Yeah. So I am also pretty torn on this game, but in a different way. So to kind of give my own background coming into this, I have only dabbled in D&D, but I've played a lot of Monster of the Week, which if you don't know what Monster of the Week is, it's like a variation of D&D that's a lot more narrative driven instead of like roll driven. Not to say that there isn't rolling in it, but you only use a D6. And it's kind of built off of that, like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Smallville, Angel kind of episodic idea where every time you play, there's going to be a monster of the week. You have your party, you're kind of, and so I've done a lot of that, especially in the last like 2 years.
Sure.
And so there are certain things that I was able to understand immediately in this game that was really helpful. You don't roll for initiative in Monster of the Week, but like I know that that's a thing.
Yeah.
But things like perception and like these things, having a base knowledge of that has been really helpful, because my biggest issue with this game is it makes no fucking sense at first. And they really they do not help you at all. Mm-hmm. There's this option at the beginning that's like, do you want to toggle off tutorials? And I'm like, you know what? I've played so many video games in my life. Let's toggle them off. Let's see. And then like 15 minutes in, I'm like, okay, thankfully the settings were like, do you want to reset tutorials? And like, it'll give you new tutorials for every new thing. I was like, yes, that please. So I did that. And I was starting to kind of show me the basics a little more, but it's just such a deep menus game that I am really struggling with at the moment to wrap my head around. But that being said, even though, 4.5 hours in, there's a lot that I feel like I'm fighting with the game on. I can't help but be incredibly impressed by what this game does.
Yes.
I am kind of in awe of this game and how, so Terry kind of responded to something that you said. And this is like one of like a big point that I have that I'm really impressed with this game on. You had talked about how like it doesn't really like tell you if you go into an area, this isn't for you. Like it just kind of, it might, naturally challenge you. Terry says he got to a section and the game literally gave him a pop-up that said, this section of the game will be abysmally hard for a party at your level. Do you want to continue? You had an experience of 15 hours in, it took you, I think you said 10 or 12 hours to like really start getting companions. Is that right?
So yeah. So, and funnily enough, you have a companion I don't even have in 4 hours in.
So yeah, I'm 4 hours in and I already have 5 companions. One of them I just sent back to my, or 2 of them, I guess, are at my camp. And it took you over 10 hours to get up to that point. Yeah. And so I'm so impressed by the fact that, like, to Liz's point, there isn't a wrong way or a right way to play this game. It's just like, go explore, and all of these characters are kind of dropped in certain areas. But what's even cooler about it, Cayman, is I got to this point. Lae'zel, I think is her name, the orc lady, orcish looking lady. She's not an orc, but I forget what the...
She fucked me, man.
Yeah?
Yeah, she did.
I get to a point where she's like in a cage. She's Gith. Thank you, Kreslin. I get to a point where she's in this cage, like hanging from a rock. And I convince these people because, I didn't mention, I'm a bard. I'm a half-drow bard. So I'm very much going on I want to be able to talk my way out of situations. And, I'm paying for it in combat in some ways, but I've really liked to be able to talk my way out of shit. So I talk my way out of this little encounter. I convince them that more Githyanki are coming. So they leave. And I'm like, I don't know how to get her out of this cage. And I walk away and I walk back and the cage is gone. I'm like, shit. So I Google, I'm like, Lae'zel bug disappearing. And I go to Reddit and someone's like, hey, this happened for me. But if you don't have this encounter with her, she's going to show up in Act 2 again. And I'm like, that is so fucking cool that because of the way this world is built, it's so easy for me to have missed that.
Yeah.
And I wonder if they thought of like, if you don't see this person, she's going to be in an encounter later in the game so that you're not going to, because it's a very important character to the story. And yet Kreslin to 90 in the chat, the world keeps turning whether you're there or not. That is so cool. And I'm so impressed by that. But am I having fun? Only sometimes so far. But I think it's a me problem though. I don't think it's a game problem.
And I don't, and I feel that 100%. That's one of my things where there's been some frustration. And I don't know if it's necessarily bugs or what it is, but I've had a couple encounters where I'm like, my party will split up unprovoked.
Yeah.
My party will split up. So I'll go think and get into an encounter and be like, I gotta fight. Where the fuck is the rest of my people? And they're just like hanging out in a completely different area. And I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God. So that can be a bit of an issue. There was one encounter I had where I thought I was going in the right direction and I was not. And then all of a sudden I got locked into a battle I couldn't escape, even though I couldn't get to the things that were locked on to me. And there's been some moments like that, which that's probably the biggest reason, like that if I'm sitting here being like, I'm a bit torn on whether I'm having fun is because, and it's like the Starfield issue where I lost a lot of progress. And this is another one of those games where you have to auto save constantly, because if you die and it didn't auto save or you didn't manually save right before an encounter or something like that, like it can drastically impact your, like how much progress you made during that time.
Yeah.
And these are just little things that like, it's a design choice, and I'm not sure if it's a design choice because they want it to be that way, or it just feels, I guess, maybe dated. Like Starfield had that same issue for me of like, it's 2023. We shouldn't have to auto save before every encounter, like, or we have to manually save this much. And so it can be a bit frustrating, but like, I think the biggest draw for me is like, I had this encounter where I just ran into 2 random dudes who were badgering an old lady, and it led to this like the whole other quest line. And I just ended up having like this really fun moment of like trial and error, figuring out how to get through this, only to get to the end of it and then being like, hey, you can kill me if you want. No, I don't think you should. So if you don't kill me though, I got a nice little treat for you. And I'm like, well, you are a terrible creature in the woods. I probably should kill you, but I want to know what happens if I don't. And I got a 1+ stat on everything.
Wow.
And I'm like, see, so I'm like, so it toys with you of like, and these kind of things I think are really cool. And this is where like, I think Starfield comes in, and a lot of people got shitty about this, where they're like, we shouldn't be comparing Starfield to Baldur's Gate 3 because they're drastically different.
Sure.
And yes, they are drastically different. And both are going to have different levels of fun for different people.
Yeah.
But if we're looking at this through the lens of like RPG mechanics and what's revolutionary, Starfield isn't it. It's Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 does things that I've never seen done in RPGs before. And it's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And the fact that you can have sex with pretty much everything is
sure.
not a bad trade-off. So
I really love how it feels, something that I've kind of felt about a lot of RPGs, and honestly Starfield in a way is one of them, where I feel like the skill tree only really matters to a certain extent. And like there are certain things that like maybe they're behind a wall with like lock picking or things like that, specifically speaking about Starfield. But it seems like for the most part, you can kind of get to that game and choose whatever skills you want. And it's not going to like super drastically change the way that you play. But I can already tell 4.5 hours into Baldur's Gate, when I'm choosing skills and spells, and like it really is already having a big impact because of the rolling system, which I think is really cool. Like bringing that in from like the D&D side of it, and how much the rolling system really impacts basically every aspect of gameplay. Whether it's conversations, when you're just exploring around, if you have a higher perception, you'll notice more things in the environment, things you can pick up, things that you can interact with, secret doors like hidden in the forest, like that kind of shit. If you have a low perception, even if you walk up right to it, you're not going to see it. And so like that kind of stuff is cool, where now all of a sudden I'm instantly gratified and I'm instantly rewarded by putting points into perception, because it's going to immediately help me find things that could pose danger or could pose like reward. That's the word.
I think it's really like a really cool mechanic that they do in this game is that you can switch to whatever party member you want at any given point and have them be the leader of the party. And
you can even play the whole game as them if you want, which I thought was cool.
And so one of the things I noticed was early on was like my character's charisma is dog shit. I got negative charisma rolls, bud. Okay.
Not good.
So I have
a +5 on charisma.
I have one of my companions is a rogue trickster and has high lockpick and thief skills, and he's got high charisma. So if I go into an encounter with something, I will just switch over to him right before I go into the encounter and see if I can talk my way out. Or with one of my companions has high perception, so I will put them at front when I know I'm not going to get into a situation because they can see traps. And so it's like it makes you change the way that you play in a way that like feels super organic.
Yeah.
And it doesn't,
and it really feels like the like Lord of the Rings. I'm a part of a party and I'm going through this adventure, and they all have their own pros and cons. And I have to think as kind of my own game master, what would be the beneficial choice here? Who should I go in with? Who should I leave at camp? Like, I really love that you're always kind of having to think through that lens of what's going to set me up for success in this moment, as opposed to I'm just going to barrel my way through and I'll figure it out.
Yeah. And I think that's soon. And also I think it's really worth pointing out as well is this game is hysterical.
It's very funny.
It is so fucking funny. The writing is so clever. And I love the fact that there's like I had a moment where I tried to talk to a pig and I rolled and it was like your animal handling skill is too low. And I like critical missed. And the prompt it gave me because I critical missed, and I looked this up, and it's not forever. It does not, you have to critical miss for this. And the narrator comes on and goes, "You tried to talk to the pig, but it's a pig. Are you stupid?" I just was like laughing my ass off. I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah.
Like there's some really, really, really funny moments in this game that I think it's just really smart. And so I definitely see like where I'm at right now, like what I see from what I've played is that this game is 100% a game of the year contender.
Oh, I already can tell 4.5 hours in.
Yeah.
Sure.
The question is it the game of the year for me?
Right.
And I think that's the thing, right? Like where there's probably a good chance that Spider-Man 2 is probably going to be my personal favorite game of the year. But like we did last year when we did our big awards, I was like, Elden Ring is game of the year. God of War Ragnarok is my game of the year.
Yeah.
And I think this could be one of those situations where I could say something like Tears of the Kingdom or Spider-Man or Final Fantasy 16 are my personal favorites this year. However, from what I've played, from what I've seen, like this very much is what I would consider to be game of the year. And so what I will say in final thoughts on this is that I feel like this game, there's a huge asterisk next to this game because I think there's going to be people out there who pick this up based on the hype and immediately are like, I wasted $70.
I agree.
And there's going to be people who pick this game up that's like, I'm going to play through this game 20 times because every playthrough is going to probably be different.
Mm-hmm.
And that's awesome. Well, it's awesome for them. It's sad. So like, I definitely think like, unlike something like Starfield or Spider-Man, I would say before you purchase, if you're on the fence, look up some videos, look up some like beginner stuff and just see like, hey, is this something that I think that I will get my value out of?
Right.
Because I do think that like it's going to give different levels to different folks.
I agree. Nick in the chat, people said the same for Elden Ring. LOL. You're right. And it's interesting because I think the reason that they said that about Elden Ring was its actual combat difficulty, where I think for this, it's just a really high barrier for entry because of how complicated it is.
Yes.
Which brings in my like two like gripes that I have. And then I also want to bring in one other thing from the chat. I also feel like the way that the mapping system works, again, this might change. I'm only 4.5 hours in, is really not fun for me because I have a really hard time understanding where I should be going for things. It's not as bad as Elden Ring where like it actually is giving me waypoints on the map. It's like, you know, in a spot of blackness on the map, this is where I need to go. I just have to figure out how to get there. But I feel like at this point, I have so many quests that I've picked up just from talking to people that it's really hard to digest the journal and the map combined in terms of like, what should I be going after? What should I be doing? And it's just not a fun experience when like I'm having this paralysis of like, there's so much that this game is showing me right now but I think once I kind of settle into it and kind of work through that, that won't be as big of a gripe. I think that's more of a kind of a growing pain of learning how to play this game.
Sure.
But I absolutely agree with you. Like this, it's going to be a huge turnoff for some people because the first time you really get into combat in this game, you have 3 entire wheels to choose from of like powers and options. And it's like, usually you start with like 1 or 2. You have 5.
I've got 5 wheels, baby.
But it's like usually in a game, you start with like maybe even just 1 thing. And as by the end of it, you have 25 things, but you've learned about those as you've gotten them. This game is just like, here's a fuck ton of shit that you can do at first. And it was really overwhelming. And then the second thing, this is something I've screamed about on this podcast before. Let me fucking pause my video games whenever I want to. It's not like other games where if I pause, like I can die, at least not in my experience yet, but like during a cinematic scene, Rose walks in and wants to talk to me about something. I want to be able to pause the game so that I can stop focusing on that and focus on Rose, but it won't let me. Just like the video keeps going or conversations will keep going. It just like won't let me stop. I don't know if it's a setting that I've put on, but like in the chat, like Liz, if you're still there, anyone else that's played it, Kreslin, like is this just the thing, or is this something that I've done? Because I fucking hate when the games do that for me and don't let me just stop it.
I wonder, that is a good question. I don't think I've seen that on my side yet. Do you have it set
Terry and Liz saying that it's the same for them.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's that.
But maybe it's a setting that we all have, but like it's frustrating. It's like my biggest pet peeve with video games when I can't pause it. And like, even if sometimes a game will, like Elden Ring was like this, where if you go into like the accessibility section specifically, it lets you pause it. So like I would, when I was playing that game, remember like pause up, square, whatever it was to actually pause the game. But I don't think that there is something like that. But unless as if I save and go to the menu and log right, like I can go out and go in. My question though, what if it's in the middle of a cinematic? Will it pick up from the beginning of that cinematic? If you don't know, that's totally fine, but I'm just curious. So yeah, so those two things don't love, but like those are things that I can get over. Yeah. Okay, she says it will, so that's good. So I'll start doing that. But it's like it's a frustrating experience. Sure. But to end it on a positive note, Cayman, Kreslin 1090 in the chat, and Kreslin, let me know if I'm saying that right or if it's like C Reslin. I don't want to be saying your name wrong. Another cool thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is that there are normally a few different ways to handle encounters. I've had an encounter where I was ambushed by some bad guys, and I convinced them all to unalive myself. I love that, or unalive themselves. Like easily my favorite part of this game is that ability to completely change the way something's going based on your skills. Are you just going to kill these people, or are you going to like be able to talk them down, or like you said, convince them to unalive themselves? Like whatever that is, I love it. So we'll have more thoughts on this game, I'm sure, later. It kind of felt like this was a full review. It certainly wasn't, because we've only put in the time that we have. But really, really impressed with this game so far. Certainly, I think will be in my short list. But I am curious to see, like you said, how far it can make its way up there. Cayman, we've been running a bit long, but I do want to do a quick. Nick, who's in the chat right now, at least he was earlier, sent in an audience submission for a Sea of Stars review. He had talked about it in the chat a few weeks ago. You talked about it on the podcast a few weeks ago. So just wanted to pull some things from his review here, because as I've said before, I love when you guys do this. Feel free to send me extended thoughts or reviews on any game you're playing. Email, DM, voice memo, whatever you want to do. If it's a voice memo, though, send it in a way that I can save it, because I love sharing your guys' thoughts on the podcast too. So Nick says, just finished the normal and the secret, which he says is the real ending. Graphics 10 out of 10, gorgeous game. Music, so beautiful. 10 out of 10, will definitely be a soundtrack that'll be remembered up there with the great JRPGs. Combat, 9 out of 10. At first, pretty easy, but as the game went on, combos became a game of chess. Ultimate moves are gorgeous. Great boss designs, and I'm glad we were given variety on enemies. Gameplay, 10 out of 10. Didn't run into any bugs during my playthrough on the PS5. Story, 9 out of 10. Love that one specifically. Really enjoyed it. Starts very simple. As it progresses, we're introduced to huge plot twists. 8.5 for the normal ending. 10 out of 10 for the secret ending. Love that. Conclusion, actually one of my favorite RPGs I've played in a long time. It was relaxing. Would love it on the Switch to play it in bed or when the PS5 allows it. Incredible soundtrack, really cool character designs. You can tell this was made with love. His final grade is a 9.5 out of 10.
Hell yeah.
Essentially, it is a must-play game. Only took him about 20 to 35 hours. So certainly, I really hope to finish this one by the end of the year. But love that you loved that, Nick. And let me know, especially if you're still in the chat, do you think this is game of the year potential for you? Cayman, I think for the sake of time, we cut one of the remaining stories. So would you rather talk about Resident Evil 4 being $60 on the Apple iPhone, or would you rather talk about one of your favorite games, The Division, coming back? I think I know which one you'd rather.
Okay, we can do both, because I'll make mine really fast.
Okay,
because I know what you're going to ask me already. First, yes, this was the weirdest announcement that you could ever have for a game. It was just a fucking press release. Yeah, it was like, we're building a team out to make a Division 3, which I honestly didn't think was going to happen, all things considered, because the team working on this is about to release that stupid Avatar game, which I was like, this is all hopes lost. And they're also working on a Star Wars game that they might still be working on, but that's kind of been cold. They're building a team. It's going to be years before this game comes out. I'd be shocked if this game actually drops on this generation of consoles.
I would think beginning of next gen. I agree.
Yeah. So for me, I know the question is what do I want to see from Division 3?
What do you want to see? Where do you want it? Are my two questions.
So they've done DC and they've done New York, and I thought both were really cool. And they did DC summer, they did New York winter. I want to see fall.
Yeah.
And I would love to see it in like Oregon or in some shit like that. Like I think that would be super cool to see that. I think in oh god, what happened now?
Cognitive because in the chat, where I want it is none of your business. That's
fair.
good. Very
That's
good.
Fair. That's fair. So I think in terms of like what I want, I think like Oregon would be really cool. Man, fuck, if they set it in Atlanta, that would
I was about to say, bring it home, baby. Let's do it in ATL.
There's no games in Atlanta. Put it in Atlanta. Put one in Timecodes in the middle of fucking nowhere. That's actually set in Savannah. So for me though, I think
they're making their way up to Atlanta at one point, don't they?
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. Keep going.
Honestly, it'll probably be like LA or San Fran or some shit like that, which is cool. Yeah. I think it's cool. But I want to see like fall. I want a different season, or if they can do multiple seasons, that'd be pretty cool. But honestly, I love Division. I really don't think I would change much about how Division works. I think their inclusion of raids and things like that in Division 2 is a really smart move. And I think the Dark Zone being maybe less optional or not less optional, but like more stakes if you go into the Dark Zone would be cool. Sure. But no, I love Division. I think Division is fucking amazing. Division 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. I think it's just a really fun game to just because you can play it solo, you can play it with people. It doesn't matter. It's always great. I just want more of it. So if I had one thing, I would just say cancel the Avatar game. You don't need to release it. I don't know what
the game that comes out in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, cancel
longer than that.
Cancel that game and let's drop Division 3 today. We need that game sooner because we need that. But yeah, no, I'm super excited about this and looking forward to that release. Now, Resident Evil 4.
Yes.
Being $60 on the iPhone. I think is a very interesting conversation, Patrick.
Yeah.
Because one thing I've been seeing people say is, would Resident Evil 4, if it was on the Switch, would you pay $60 for that?
Sure.
But the iPhone is more powerful somehow than the Switch. So I guess the question is like, one, it's a question of parity. So I think right now we're going to see most games that they're going to launch for the that they're putting on the iPhone, they're probably going to be $60.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to change once they start to see what people are willing to spend.
Right. The market will make it course correct for sure. If the market is not willing to spend $60 for a full, quote unquote, full console experience on their phone.
I saw someone though, they somehow rigged their phone to play the game on their TV.
Yeah, it was like a USB-C to HDMI cord.
Yeah, and it was like the coolest thing in the world. I'm like, well, now you have people who aren't gamers. They don't need to go spend hundreds of dollars on $100 on a console. If you can just get your games on the iPhone and stream them,
yeah,
then part of me is like, that's actually a really nice thing and kind of makes me think the $60 is a better price point because people aren't going to be like, a lot of people aren't going to be spending that money on a console, but they'll spend $1,500 on an iPhone.
Right.
Because I would say 99.9% of the people who have any phone, they didn't just buy it outright. You know, they're paying on it. And so it's like less of an investment. So part of me thinks that maybe, but then again, the other question is like, how many people are going to be like, no, I don't want this on my iPhone. I want this on my Xbox. I want this on my PlayStation. I want this on my PC. So I think I don't know. I think I kind of stick to my guns on this and say, I think that this very much is going to be one, how comfortable is it to play if you're not syncing it through your TV?
Yep.
And two, I think it's going to be a market thing. Are things like Resident Evil 4, like let's say they remake Resident Evil 5 and they're like, hey, it's coming to consoles tomorrow. In 9 months, it's going to be on your iPhone. And so then that can adjust how much price. They're like, look, you're not going to pay $60 for it on your iPhone today, but in 6-9 months, after the game's being reduced in price, you will pay $30 or $40 to
Sure,
play it.
sure.
So I do think it's a market thing. But I think that's interesting. I think this definitely opens up games for a much wider audience.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, my thing is I don't want to necessarily say that 60 is a bad price point until I actually get my hands on playing Resident Evil 4 or Resident Evil Village or Assassin's Creed Mirage on my iPhone.
Mm.
The one thing that I do think is very cool about it, and I hope that this evolves one step further, is that if you buy it on your iPhone, it's going to work on your iPad if you have one. It's going to work on your Mac if you have one. So it's like cross buy in that way. Like whatever the Apple ecosystem is, you bought the license for that. What I would like to see, if I bought Resident Evil 4 on my PlayStation, can I either get it on my phone or can I get it on my phone at a discount? That I would love to see, because then I would be more willing to spend, $20, $30, even $40 on a game that I really want to be able to play on my phone as well and on my iPad. But I just $60, especially for a game that like right now is on sale, feels like a bit of a weird move. Especially like it's also a culture thing in that we, for the last 12 years, have been taught through the market, you don't really pay more than like $3 for a game on this thing, or it's free and you do the microtransactions. I put way more than $3 into Marvel Snap at this point, but like, so that's the other thing. Like, I'm really interested to see kind of where this drops, because there's so much variation in the mobile market that maybe there is a place for this kind of luxury title, but it's going to be hard to say at first because it's only on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Like, it's only that specific model that it works on. So I don't know what we're really going to see. But yeah, so then John in the chat, Resident Evil is a game that could be worth $60, but after prices shift higher, devs are going to start charging $40 for Bejeweled. Maybe, but if the market doesn't allow it, then if people don't pay $40 for Bejeweled, then I don't need to necessarily explain marketing or economy 101, but I do, like, I don't know, it's kind of a hard thing to pinpoint kind of where it'll land. But I think it's an exciting time, like, to be able to play Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil Village, which is launching at $39.99 Village, or Mirage, which we don't have the price for yet, but I would assume it's going to be $60 on the iPhone. So we'll see.
It's definitely interesting. These are weird times.
Yeah.
I almost kind of feel like do you remember the N-Gage?
I do.
I kind of feel like we're having like an N-Gage renaissance right now, where it's like you can play video games on your smartphone.
Yeah.
And it's just funny. Fucking Snake. But like, I think the biggest thing for me here is, like, from what we've seen spec wise from the iPhone, I'm really curious of what the specs for the Nintendo Switch 2 or the Super Nintendo Switch or the whatever the fuck
is it going to be better than the iPhone?
Yeah, because I think that also will definitely impact, where it's like all of these AAA games are like, we will be on your iPhone, but it won't run on the next Switch.
Well, I would be willing to bet it's not going to be better than the iPhone, the Switch 2, because last week when we were talking about the leaks, they were saying that it's going to be Xbox One, PS4 strength, and Resident Evil 4 Remake doesn't work on those, if I'm not mistaken. So
they're like, we're talking about ray tracing on the iPhone. And I'm like, that was never a conversation I ever thought was going to happen. But yeah, I think the bigger question is, do we think that the fact that you can now release games on the iPhone, is that going to impact sales for the Switch?
I don't know. I guess we'll find out.
I mean, it's a lot cheaper to get a Switch than it is to get an iPhone.
That's true. We'll wait and see. We're going to wait and see. I do want to end the show with a little update to the game release counter. We actually have a pretty meaty update here.
Hell yeah.
Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, which is a game we've like briefly talked about on the show before, as it's been in a couple like state of plays and things like that, pushed to February of next year. And they were very candid. They were like, we don't want to release it in such a saturated time as November of this year, which I think is really smart.
Yeah, no, 100%. Who else?
So they pushed it back 3 months.
Someone else did that too.
Well, Alan Wake 2 pushed back a week, but there was another one. but I can't think of it off the top of my head. And they were like, yeah, no, we don't want to release right now because of this. Also, we found out, I think today, the Talos Principle 2 is coming on November 2nd. I don't know if that's a game we already knew was coming or if that was like a total reveal.
I think we knew it was coming. I don't think we had a release date.
Okay. The Callisto Protocol and Farming Simulator 2 are reportedly set to headline October's PS Plus editions. Fuck. That was leaked today. So there would be one more that wasn't leaked, but that's all that the leak had. As I briefly just mentioned, Resident Evil Village coming to iPhone 15 Pro on October 30th, and that's going to be $39.99. But if you want the Ethan Winters expansion, which lets you play in third person and some other stuff, I think there's like another story bit. That's another $20. Sea of Thieves. This is actually very exciting for me. Finally getting a solo mode.
Yeah.
As part of season 10 in December. So you can create your own private server and play the entire game solo or with just your friends if you want. So your boy Patty might finally be playing Sea of Thieves. I mentioned the Division 3 here, but we ended up doing a whole story there. Came in one of your most anticipated games, Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, got a release date, January 26th.
Which, you know what, man, in this market, dude, in January especially, like it should be at least died down enough.
Yeah.
I am going to devour that game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, potentially was going to be a story today, but ended up not being. Cameron Monaghan confirmed at a panel at a con the other day. Star Wars Jedi 3 happening. You know, we knew, but this is the first official word that it's happening. And also their studio lead just left. So interested to see what kind of changes that.
Patrick, did you hear that Criterion is back with like their Criterion is coming back with like a way bigger role in EA now. Like I think EA might have finally bought Criterion or something.
At first, I thought you meant like the Criterion of the collection.
Oh no, not the movie Criterion. The team behind I think the last Need for Speed game and the team behind the Burnout games is apparently coming. They've apparently worked on Battlefield for some reason, and I think EA finally bought them. I think was the news.
Gotcha.
But guess what was part of that news? No Burnout because apparently they fucking hate us.
Yeah. Release Burnout.
So just take that off the game release calendar. There'll never be another Burnout game.
Damn. Rest in peace. RIP in peace.
Sucks, bro.
Yeah, it's not good. Terry in the chat. Dave the Diver releases on Switch like a week or something after Spider-Man 2. Played the demo and I cannot wait. That game fucking rips.
Hell yeah. Sydney's so excited about that.
You're going to love it. Well, folks, that's our show. As I said at the top, do not forget only a couple more days as of release of the episode to get in your top 15 for the top 100 games list, which is going to be starting next week, Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. Make sure you follow us on twitch.tv/SpotlightGamesPod so that you know when we go live next week to start revealing the lists. Also, check us out on Twitter at SpotGamesPod or Instagram at SpotlightGamesPod. And, you know, all the other places too. Just search for us. Kanan, where can they follow you online?
Yeah, you can follow me at the Dumpster Boy on Twitter. Once again, if you tuned in last week, Save Trash Cinema's coming back for October, baby. We got some really cool news. I think we might have even picked out the first movie we're going to launch with. The entire month of October, we will be covering early 90s trash cinema.
Ooh.
So it's going to be a really weird, fun time, and I'll have more info about that. But yeah, it's coming back, baby. And I think it's going to launch. First episode is going to be the first Friday of October, the 7th, I believe is when we're going to do that. So
let's fucking go.
You can follow that at Save Trash Cinema on all socials. And if you've never listened to an episode, I highly recommend. Probably don't.
You got a backlog of episodes to catch up on, brother.
Yeah, and there's some raunchy ones in there.
Raunchy. You can follow me at Patrick Schwag. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. Always appreciate your viewership and listenership. And until we meet again, play some video games and tell someone in your life you love them. It can be anybody. Just go tell them you love them because I love you.
I need positive affirmation. You can tell me.
Go tell Cayman if you're not going to tell anybody else. Bye-bye.